Shannon met Christopher Harkins on the dating app Tinder, but their casual relationship soon took a sinister turn. After he defrauded her of over £3,000 and threatened her, she told her story to journalist Catrina Stewart, who then uncovered the truly shocking extent of his crimes against many other unsuspecting women.
Yeah, Harkins was jailed for 12 years last year, described as a manipulative and violent rapist who scammed women out of more than £200,000 in all. Following a documentary on the case, even more women have come forward.
And Shannon joins us now alongside journalist Catrina Stewart. Shannon, first of all, I mean, there have always been men who come into people's lives and, you know, inveigle their way in and then become manipulative and take money. But these days, you can do that not just online through Tinder apps, but also you can do it to multiple women at the same time. Do you have any idea at the beginning, when you were talking about that first holiday, that this was what was going on?
Absolutely no idea. And I think you're right. It was very easy for him to take the same story and repeat it time after time. There was, you know, very little difference in all the stories that he told to multiple women. But at the time, you're so trusting of somebody and you're trying to be trusting of someone that you've just met. At the time, I had no idea that there were other victims. I thought I was the only one. And
importantly, he offered to pay for the holiday to Greece, I think, £3,000+. And you said, no, you know, I'm independent, I want to pay my way. And that was how he kind of fooled you into handing over the money for a booking which didn't exist.
Absolutely. I mean, he completely took over the plans. I was a little bit sort of railroaded when you look back, and hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But at the time, it was very quick. It was, you know, very adventurous, spontaneous, all of these things that we're brought up to believe are romantic and the fairy tale.
I wonder now, considering the time he's serving and the crimes he committed, whether you think, actually, I had a lucky escape.
That's all I keep saying. I was one of the only lucky ones, I would say, to not have been a victim of any violent or sexual crimes, to have actually received every penny of my money back, thanks to this lady. I was very lucky, very, very lucky.
So tell me how Catrina gets involved and how Catrina helps you track down the money, but also, Catrina, how you then found out there were other people being conned like Shannon.
So I had gone to the police. It was the first thing that I did, you know, the day that I realised what was going on, and the police weren't willing to listen. And this was over a period of weeks. There was still interaction with Chris Harkins. He then further tried to humiliate me, you know, tried to extort further money out of me. At this point, I'd kind of lost my rag with it a little bit.
He was blaming you?
Yeah. And I took matters into my own hands. I kind of wrote a bit of a story, sent it to a number of newspapers, and Kat was the person who picked up the story and took me seriously.
And then what happened, Catrina, after that? Did you think it's probably not just Shannon?
It was a really curious situation to be in because it took quite a while to get the story over the line. Obviously, there were a lot of legal ramifications, but Shannon had kept receipts for everything. She had screenshots of messages, she had screenshots of bank transfers, and we had to give Christopher Harkins the right to reply as well, and it was really difficult to track him down. I was going out knocking various doors, addresses that he was linked to, couldn't get a hold of him. And then eventually had a conversation with him, and I just thought there is something really off about this guy. It was so difficult to kind of keep him on track and try and get to the bottom of what he was telling me.
Kind of doing what the police should be doing at this point.
Well, exactly. And so we did run Shannon's story in the paper, and very quickly my phone started ringing, emails started coming in, and it was other women getting in touch to say, actually, I've had interactions with this man. Friends of his from years before had got in touch to say, just be careful about this because it's not just the crimes of fraud. There are other issues happening here as well.
He was convicted 19 separate criminal offences directed to different victims, including, as we've said, rape and assault. Catrina, you also didn't realise what you were stepping into. And in fact, when he was in court, he looked you in the eye, didn't he?
He hasn't shown any remorse for the crimes at all. He pleaded guilty to the financial crimes, but he fought back against all of the sexual assault crimes and the assault crimes, and he was eventually found guilty, and as you say, he was sentenced to 12 years. And as he was being handcuffed to be taken away, he turned round to the press gallery and looked at me and said, "This is because of you."
I mean, how did that make you feel? This is someone who's just been convicted of violent assault, sexual offences, as well as being a quite accomplished con artist.
I thought it was quite an astonishing indictment of the man himself, that even after all of the evidence against him, after going through a trial, he refused to take any responsibility for himself. But it also made me feel extremely proud of the women who did speak to me, the women who came forward, women like Shannon, who just said enough is enough and did something to actually put this man exactly where he belongs.
Shannon, has it... You know, you're a single woman, you go onto a dating app, you want to find love. It inevitably is going to put you in a slightly vulnerable position because you, as you say, you want to trust. You have to trust. What's happened since then? Are you able to approach relationships with a trusting heart?
Honestly, no. And I do think it's had a lasting impact in that sense. I'm constantly looking for red flags that, you know, maybe I have seen it beforehand, and it's very, very difficult in this day and age to date in the way that society tells us and the way that we're supposed to date. And most things are online. But to be able to find that within myself, to trust another man after what's happened, I find it really difficult.
What would you say to other people, other women who use the dating apps? Is there advice that you would issue to people? I know that you're finding it hard yourself, but is something you could tell people that would help?
And it's not everybody, do you know, but I think be wary and let's try and remove the judgment from this situation. I think the more that we judge other people, it actually clouds our own judgment. So I think if we can just be open and realise that this could happen to anybody. It's not a certain demographic, it's not a certain type of woman. It can happen to anyone.
The obvious point, I would say, people watching is, why would you hand over money to someone that you didn't know or trust? Sometimes it's not obvious in the situation. So on that, what would you say?
Yeah, and so in this particular situation, I knew I did trust him to a certain extent, but there are people out there who are handing over money before they've even met someone. Yeah. And again, let's just not judge that, because the judgment has to be on the person that has that level of control over the other person. The judgment is not on the person who does something with the best of intentions.
Yeah, and the judgment is what stops women coming forward and reporting these crimes and allows these kind of men to carry on in the way that they do. So I think that's a really, really vital point to make.
Can I just ask, because look, it's terrible the ongoing impact it's had. It ends, though, with him convicted. But clearly, there was something about what he did which worked for a long time over a lot of women with a lot of money. When you look back across all of those cases, and you've obviously both studied them, seen them in the court case, what was it that he did which was kind of clever or skillful, which managed to fool so many people? What's the thing to look out for?
He's a master manipulator. He's a psychopath, you know, if we're going to categorise it by terms. And he was very consistent. So he consistently told the same story, and I believe that he believed his own lies. And when you're so full of conviction, it's very easy to get other people on board.
He's very charming, he's very charismatic, he's intelligent, he knows exactly how to target women. He would pick women very carefully, so he would look for women perhaps who just come out of a long-term relationship, who are maybe feeling a little bit vulnerable. And he was very, very good at getting to know that woman very quickly and manipulating her. It was astonishing the way that he did this almost as a full-time career. I don't think he worked.
It's so hard what you're saying, though, because what you're saying is that it's because he was so full of conviction and that you know, and so good at it, that you would think to yourself, well, look, you know, I'd never be fooled by, you know, this, but this guy, like, he's real. And, you know, if you go through life thinking the people who are the most convincing are the ones you have to trust less, that's really... It's
difficult.
Hard to live your life like that. You do.
Thank you both. What a remarkable outcome, and well done to you both. And thank goodness you found each other and were able to get that conviction in court and protect who knows how many others. Shannon and Catrina, thank you so much. Good to see you this
And thank you
morning.
for talking about it. It's
Thank
really
you.
important.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh.